Late night roster mania updates. Well, I guess technically you could be watching this at any time, but I'm recording this at 10:30 at night, and we're going to talk about everything that happened today with Envoy being an unrestricted free agent. One of the big things that started us off here. Envoy unrestricted free agent. This obviously means that A, he's dropped from Thieves, and B, they had no intentions of keeping him or even trying to sell him on, maybe like they have with Dan Ghosty, who's currently a restricted free agent. Envoy is free to just go wherever, explore any option he can get. And I know Envoy ended the season kind of on like a rough patch. EWC especially was pretty bad, but Envoy was really good for at least all 4 majors in the CDL, and I do think he should get on a decent roster, but where that roster is going to be, I really don't know, and we're going to play a little bit with it with rostermania.com at the end of the video to kind of talk about where Envoy could go. But that leads to the next part, which is the Thieves are aiming to add Kenny to the roster. If you dive into the article, it talks about how they're looking to pair Hydra and Scrap with Kenny, and that they have also shown interest in aBeZy, but they would have to, work on getting a buyout done with FaZe. And Taylor here also says that they're hearing the same thing. Kenny and aBeZy is a duo heading to go in for Ghosty and Envoy to play with Scrap and Hydra. Now, obviously, this means Scrap probably is not going to get sold. Nadeshot said on stream today it's like a 1% chance he sells him unless they send an insane amount of money. But I guess 1% is always a percent, right? So it can always happen. But I would imagine it looks like Scrap is going to be staying with the Thieves. Same thing with Hydra for the last year of their contract, with Kenny and aBeZy coming on over. Now, me personally, as a Thieves fan, I mean, I love Kenny, right? I know he's coming off a pretty rough year, maybe his worst year ever. But I absolutely love Kenny. And aBeZy is another player that we all know is really, really great. Again, for him, maybe the worst year of his career as well. How does this team work out? To me, feels like a slight downgrade, especially when you look at what the players did last year. I would say Ghosty was definitely better than Kenny in the last couple years. And personally, I think I would say Envoy was better than aBeZy this season, although some people might disagree with that. I do think it's very close. But overall, Kenny and aBeZy are 2 players, both have 2 rings, great players, winning players, and pairing them alongside Hydra and Scrap, 2 of the most consistent players in the game, this could be a team that ends up being really, really good. And then switching notes to the Miami Heretics, this came out earlier today from Ronnie, Miami nearing a deal to sign REEAL, or to re-sign REEAL, right? But if you remember yesterday we talked about this, there was like a leak from the Heretics CEO or the Heretics founder that REEAL was going to be heading to Koi to make 3x the salary. And then we get today this tweet here from aBeZy. If you don't know who aBeZy is, a massive Spanish content creator who, I don't know if he's a part of Koi or if he's like part of the ownership group at Koi, but he responded to this tweet of REEAL putting the contract gif with this Neymar video. And then if you scroll down, we have a reply from Methods, who is not Methods from Optic. Methods, the coach of the Miami Heretics, who, if we click translate on here, he basically says, let's see if you tweet this when they play and not just to stir things up to get him to sign with you. Good luck, and I hope you support him through thick and thin like we did. And he even responds further down here saying, I just feel sorry that a Spanish project is getting screwed, but I'm happy for the one who's going to steal your money. They neither feel nor care about you. So essentially saying their Spanish project in Miami, I guess, is kind of getting screwed here because they're losing REEAL, and that he's essentially just going there to steal their money, and it's not really about because he wants to play for Koi, he just wants the extra bread. But this definitely makes things interesting. A, because Koi and Heretics being 2 Spanish-backed orgs, 2 Spanish orgs with their fan bases rivaling each other, it's just really good, right? The rivalry is only going to continue to build between those. But also, Jodeci's and REEAL is a very good sub-duo, if you ask me. But now, what is the ARs going to look like? Because everyone was saying Draza and Kenny were going to go there because they wanted to be a duo, but if Kenny's coming to Thieves, Draza maybe and Kleenex could be a duo as ARs there, with Kleenex on the flex. Also, Draza could head back to FaZe, right? That is still in the realm of possibility. And then lastly, in terms of rumors, before we go to the ROSTERMANIA website, and also make sure you sub to the channel if you're not already, on the road to 20K. We're a long way till there, but we're on the road. This was from Method Stream, where Sib is apparently linked to the Vegas Falcons. He is on C9 currently, right? So I guess the Falcons will be looking to buy him out to team up with Pret, Xnid, and Celium. I think this makes sense. He's been linked there before. I think we all kind of thought maybe he teamed back up with Pred, and being as it doesn't look like they're getting scrapped, it looks like Sib is their next option. But now if we look at the ROSTERMANIA website and start filling some of these things in, aBeZy over here with Hydra, Scrap, and Kenny makes the Thieves team. For FaZe over here, it's looking like 04 aBeZy +1, although that +1 is still up in the air. Maybe it could be Draza, maybe not. Falcons, if we're looking at Celium over here, as well as Sib, a team that, like, I think this is still a good squad. This is definitely a squad that can compete with some of the best on their day, but a lot of it's going to rely on how Xnid does. And then if we come over here to Koi and we add in REEAL, I do really think there's a good chance that this Kleenex Draza team's, not Envoy, sorry Envoy, the Kleenex Draza team does end up happening, and I do think this would be a really good team with a high ceiling. I also saw very briefly Metals tweeted like I am inevitable Thanos gift, so maybe it means he's coming back, so we're gonna throw him back on the Heretics. On the side of Breach, we're just gonna continue to put Geo in here because that's the only thing I've heard for them. Geo G2, I'm going to put all of the omit players in there just to keep that the same as we did last time. But now here's where it gets pretty interesting, right? Because you have the Gentlemates with a completely unknown roster. We know they want to build a good one. We know they have money. You have Heretics, a top team with an open slot, and you have FaZe, a top team with an open slot. For Heretics, I could see them bringing back Eric Boom, although based on Method's tweet, I don't know if they're going to chalk the Spanish project or not, but Eric Boom was good in challengers, like I said in the past, so we're going to put him there just, I don't know, because it feels right. FaZe, to me, feels completely unknown. They could look at Ghosty, they could look at Nasty maybe as some potential pieces to do this, and maybe they do go with Nasty. Maybe 0-4, aBeZy, and Nasty all come over, and it's basically just Surge with Simp this time, which, I mean, Simp's a great player, right? And we know how good that Surge roster was last year, so instead of Nep, you got Simp. Could be a good FaZe roster. Then for the side of Gentlemates, I actually don't think this is a bad duo to start with. Envoy and Dan Ghosty as your duo, right? To build around for your team here. I mean, these guys just found success with each other. You know they got Team Chem, you know they're team players, and they're both some of the upper end free agents that would still be available. And another guy that would still be available would be Neptune. Neptune, Envoy as your sub duo with Dan Ghosty as one of your ARs. The last AR spot is kind of where it would get like sort of, I don't really know what they would do here. I think Insight might be one of the next best options, and this as a Gentlemates team for their second year in the league, I think is much better. Now, are they going to win a championship? Probably not, unless these guys are like frying on that weekend. But I don't think this is a bad Gentlemates roster with Envoy, Nep as your sub duo, Ghosty as your faster AR, and then Insight is more of your main, even though the main AR, you know, as Octane is saying, is a dying breed. It's not really a thing anymore. But now that leaves us with the three teams over here on the left, the Royal Ravens, Cloud9, and Surge. If I'm Cloud9 in this situation, who I think could be the next team, if these were the last three to make a move, I think Cloud9 would be the next. I think Kismet would be a great starting piece. I also think for C9, maybe going after a guy like Abe, who I think had a pretty good rookie showing at EWC. Now, I don't even know exactly how these two would work. I didn't see enough of Abe to really tell you like how I feel like his play style is and where it would work, but I think Abe and Kiz together are two very solid SMGs. The ARs, as I continue to say, is just kind of where it's like, I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, I just don't know what ARs are available. Maybe they keep Spart, right? I mean, we haven't even heard anything about Spart. He could still be under contract here, so maybe he stays as one of the ARs. And then maybe they bring back Skies. Skies is one of those players I feel pretty 50-50 about if he ends up back on a team, but obviously Kismet is his boy. Maybe they try to do it one last time. I'd be a little shocked, but we're gonna run with it. For the Surge, I think there's a lot of options here of things they could build around. Maybe they bring back Gwyn here, a guy who actually was a substitute for Surge back in the day when like Pred and Sib were on the team and never actually played for them. Maybe he finds his way back over to the Surge. Maybe he teams himself up with a guy like Nero. You got a pretty aggressive sub here and a slaying type of sub like Gwyn. Maybe it could work out, but these are just two free agents that are still available. ARs, again, is where I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, I just genuinely don't know how to do. People think maybe Lunars deserves a second shot just because he started to play a bit better towards the end of the season, so we'll throw him in there. And then we'll also throw Beans in there because Beans is another guy that I do think is CDL caliber. And now for the Ravens, I mean, someone's getting snubbed, right? Like, people are getting snubbed. I think Kremp absolutely should be on a team. I think Johnny and Estrel are both players that should be on a team, but I'm gonna throw Johnny on there because I feel like people don't talk about him enough. And then if Slasher is your main AR that's still on this team, flex wise, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, Afro's another guy that should probably get a spot in the league here. Flex wise, if you're these guys, I have genuinely no idea what they would do. And would they bring in a Priesta or a Tej or maybe an Awakening over here? Dylan Rex, I don't think he's coming back, but I guess you never really know. But I'm gonna throw a little curveball in there because it really doesn't matter. We're gonna throw Neum in there. Neum's a guy who I actually think is a shout for someone that could get picked up mid-season. But I mean, looking at these rosters, man, Thieves, right? That's a good roster, good rumored roster. FaZe basically Surge with Simp, Sib to Falcons. This Koi roster I do really like. And then the rest of it, this Gentlemates roster I also think is a solid thing based on, you know, what's left that you could build around. But either way, let me know what you think about all the news that came out today. Like I said earlier, make sure you sub to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.